Morning. Good morning for me. Morning for lots of people, but wherever you are, hello and good day. Joe here from Copyhackers. Stoked to be in for my first workshop ever with Winter. I overdo it. I over prepare for everything. This is my first time ever talking about bad words. It's for a book that I'm writing on word choice. So I've selected 5 of the words that come up repeatedly in my research that aren't good, that aren't working. And we tend to fall into these things. So I'm going to share those with you. But as I mentioned, I tend to overdo it. So I have 30 minutes to talk and I have 98 slides. So fun. I'm going to move fast, but do throw your questions in the Q&A area, that questions part, and chat over. And I'll do my best to look at chat. And at times I will ask you questions. All right. So what are these bad words that we're talking about? In regular life, you may have heard, if you follow Brene Brown, which I don't follow, but I've seen a few things. And I should probably follow a bit more. But this is one that Brene Brown says not to use in real life. At least, if you start a sentence with at least when you're talking to somebody, you should rethink it for reasons we can't get into, but it's worth looking into it. But something like if your friend loses their job and you say, well, at least you got a month's severance, you think you're saying the right thing, right? You just kind of fell into it. You're used to hearing things like that. You're not really being critical about the words that you're saying. And in relationships, that can be forgiven. But on your website, in your emails, in your product, even, it's not as easy to overlook these things. So we're going to talk about phrases like that you might be accidentally using. Now, Pep was talking about jargon too, which is a whole thing. And no, hard pass. There are times when there are, dog whistle words. But yeah, by and large, absolute no on jargon, which I think you may already know. It got some really good laughs I was watching in the reactions when Pep was talking through that. So what are these 5 words? We're going to talk about 5 words. There are more than 5 words, but I also don't want you to overthink every word, which can become unnatural. Let's just spend today the next 25 minutes talking about 5 words to avoid. Now, these are going to be, the first one is probably across your site. I would encourage you in another tab, if you have multiple monitors like I do, open up the one in the top left. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have 6 monitors. But what I would encourage you to do is open up your website. Just go put it in another tab. Don't get distracted. Stick with me, but open it up and then take a look on your site and see if you've got bad word number 1 anywhere on your site. Bad word number 2 will probably be on your pricing page. Bad word number 3 is going to show up on your homepage, very likely. Bad word number 4, it's in your resource center, your support center, the place where users come when they want to actually learn how to use your product. Kind of an important place to be. And then in product as well. So we're going to cover everything for SaaS in particular. But if you're not from a SaaS background, you'll still find that this is valuable to you as well. You just might not have a pricing page, but don't worry. You'll still see that bad word is in use on your site. Okay, let us dive in. James says, can we get the slides? I think Pep replied, always. Yes, you can get the slides. Before we kick this off, I would like you to please memorize just these 3 words. Memorize them: revenue, accelerate, and experience. These are not the bad words. I don't think you're probably using them on your site, but those aren't the ones. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead. Just memorize those: revenue, accelerate, and experience. Okay. Bad word number 1. What is bad word number 1? I'm just going to reveal it to you. Let's chime in. Let's guess. Okay. I'm going to show you these and you tell me, there's going to be like 4 of them. I'll read the copy to you and you tell me if you can identify what this bad word might be. The most trusted influencer platform, Maverick is the leading all-in-one influencer marketing platform, enabling companies such as P&G, Kraft Heinz, and Express to harness the power of authentic creator content and programs at scale. Next, our creators are changing the game. Read about all the ways brands are achieving success with Thinkific. Next, we make card processing simple. Accept Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Interac, all with clear pricing and no surprise fees. And the subhead here, basically, we make your login box awesome. So there were 4 different ones there. Did you notice anything that they had in common? Anything that they were saying that started maybe to just like kind of rise to the surface for you? Is like, should we say that? It's like a word. I just jumped right to it because I know we don't have a lot of time. So, bad word number one is we, or variations on that, like our or your brand name. So, we make card processing simple. Our creators are changing the game. We make your login box awesome. Maverick is doing this thing. And side note, this is nothing against these brands. These are fantastic brands in so many ways, and everybody is using these bad words across their website. These are just random examples from tabs I had open when I was putting this deck together. So, we, our, what's the problem with this, right? I think academically, we know that this is wrong. And yet, I would say across your site, you're using the word we or our or your brand name. Now, some brands are awesome at not doing this, but a lot of people fall into this particular bad word. Whenever you see the word we or your brand name, it's basically a sign to you that the copy is about the product, not the prospect. The copy was probably written in a boardroom. Someone else wanted to draft it in such a way that it was focused on our hero, which is the user or the prospective user. And instead, after many iterations of a Google Doc or even with like the CMS open in a boardroom, terrifying, you end up with these phrases that lead with our. It's accidental. You didn't mean it. You're not trying to push people away, but yet you are. You're talking about yourself. Now, my friend Neville, who's also in Austin, I think he's still there at least. I haven't talked to him in a little while, but I should follow up. I say also because I know Pep is in Austin. He says it really nicely. He said this 12 years ago or something, and it's just been like the best way I've ever heard it phrased. People don't care about you. They only care about themselves. A lot of people, when they hear this, react like, well, that's not true. People care about lots of things. For the purposes of your copy, people don't care about you. They only care about themselves. And as soon as you think that way, your copy improves. It gets a lot better, and you get rid of words like we and our and whatever your brand name might be. So, read through this as an exercise and tell me when you're the prospect here, let's pretend. Tell me when you start to care. At what point does this become interesting to you? Just to you. So, Maverick is the leading all-in-one influencer marketing platform enabling companies such as then all these folks, to harness the power. This is what Pep was talking about, the power of authentic creator content and programs at scale. So at no point were you like perfect. The only reason you might be perfect is because this is a snapshot you can throw on a slide when you're talking to some decision maker internally about what this solution does. But for you, you're ignoring that and looking through the rest of the site to try to make sense of what's going on. As soon as you type the word we or our or your brand, that's basically like a portal inviting BS into this world. Just accept it. It's a portal. It's letting bad things in. Close that portal up. Stop using we. Now, you may say, because I've heard this a trillion times, you may say, I just don't understand your market. You target VPs and C-levels, and they love hearing that stuff. To which I say, and I've said this for a long ass time, B2B does not mean boring to boring. We all know we're still talking to people. I have watched so many sales demo recordings in Chorus and Gong where the person on the receiving end, the VP of something or the senior VP of whatever, is bored out of their mind by what they're hearing, right? They want to get in to what matters to them. I like to think about Succession. Now, I hope everybody here has watched Succession, but you know how like when Kendall's talking and he's not really saying anything and everyone watching with you is like, Kendall, you never say real words. The SVP of engineering is thinking the same thing about Kendall that new product coordinator is thinking about Kendall. Can you say something real? Can you please? And I guarantee that they care just as much about what's in it for them as that new product coordinator does. These are all people, no matter what their title is. They want to hear about themselves. They don't care about you. They only care about themselves. So now read this and tell me when you start to care, right? Our creators are changing the game. Who is the hero here? Do I really care about your creators? Why would I care about your creators? Like, honestly, why would I care about this? And this isn't against Thinkific. I've worked with Thinkific. I love Thinkific. We use Thinkific. This is just an example of well-intentioned marketers falling into language that they just weren't really thinking through. Now, read this and tell me when you start to care. You too can change the game. Read about all the ways creators like you are achieving success with Thinkific. You can keep the message exactly the same. All you want to do is rewrite every we sentence to begin with you. Now, when you do this, you might be like, oh, feels like all our sentences begin with you now. We should change that. No, don't change that. You're doing it right. You happens to be a money word, which is from an entirely different talk that I do. But trust me, you work. So we go from basically, we make your login box awesome, to basically, you're about to make your login box awesome. I feel better now. This is about me. That's great. Really easy fixes. Wistia. Also, we've worked with Wistia. Love Wistia too. So I don't think Wistia or Thinkific or anybody will mind us sharing these things. Wistia helps marketers create and manage. Now you can create and manage, etc., etc. Bonus points as we wrap up money word. I'm so used to money words. Bad word number 1. Bonus point is to add you to the start of, I'm about to get like nerdy here, verb phrases in the imperative. Don't worry about what that is if you're like, I don't care about grammar and I didn't like high school English. That's fine. This is a verb phrase in the imperative. Start selling with Square. It's a sentence as well. Create your free account in minutes. That's it. It doesn't have a subject at the beginning of it. It is in the imperative. It's telling you to do something. Instead, try this. And this is something that Apple was doing for the longest time. You should just add you should to the front of things, and you can to the front of other things. So you should start selling with Square. You can create your free account right away. It's about me again. And that these might feel small, but if you like open up your CMS and start typing this stuff in instead and hit save, it will feel more like it's about the prospect. And you're still saying the exact same message, by the way. Okay, let's move on to bad word number 2, but I would first like you to add the following words to the 3 you have already memorized: efficiency and outcome. Okay, you got 5 words in your head now. And now we're diving into the next bad word, which is pay. Now I'm summarizing this word. We're going to get into the variety of words that we're talking about in this category, but I would open up your pricing page right about now. Okay, so pricing pages are huge. I did my master's on persuasion in online environments, including on product detail pages and pricing pages. Okay, I'm seeing questions come in. I'm just like, cool. So some things you may have heard. You may have somebody, maybe your CRO or whoever is in charge of like optimizing your website or optimizing for revenue or whatever. They're working on your pricing page. They're running pricing page tests, hopefully a lot. Things like if a price is big, actually make it smaller physically. That's a good trick of the trade. Use just below prices like $9.97 instead of round prices like $10. If you want to raise average revenue per user, you want to lead with the most expensive tier. You probably heard this. To get more users, lead with the least expensive tier. You probably heard that. Maybe you've tested it. Maybe it didn't work for you. But this is general better practices. And when using tiered discounts, minimize increments between thresholds. Okay, these are things that you have likely heard. Cool. Now, one of the most obvious ones that I want to get into, because this is all fancy and wonderful and it can lead to good improvements in conversion sometimes. We have this glaring problem in SaaS that is just kind of like ignored. We dedicate an entire page to expressing the message that this thing costs you money. This is not something that is done on e-commerce sites. It's not even done on services. Nowhere else but SaaS has this like insistence on having a pricing page, a page called pricing that appears in the nav of everything. Look through this. You can see pricing everywhere. Of course you can. It's all over the place. Everybody in SaaS does this. They all add pricing unless you're an enterprise only, and then you might not have pricing on there, but you'll have something like it. So we're fixated on pricing. And we think, well, our prospects are too, because pricing gets a lot of clicks on it. You can see, look, on the nav, they're all clicking on it. I'm not saying you have to change your nav label, although could be an interesting quick test. What I am saying is you've got this thing called pricing. You're setting people up before they even land on the page to go, okay, what's this going to cost? And you haven't necessarily had a chance to architect anything around that leading up to it. I can land on your homepage, see your hero section, look at your headline, go, maybe, and then click over to pricing and go, never mind. So you have got we have to do more on the pricing page because we know people are going there. I recommend what's called a depletion of assets sweep. A sweep is a really simple copywriter thing where all you do is you sweep your copy doc, as in you look quickly over your doc to see if certain words exist. In this case, are there words that exist on your pricing page that are basically just shouting at your prospect that their life is about to get a little bit harder and the assets they have are about to shrink? They're here for something, a lot better than losing money, but yet we talk about it all the time. So I want you to strike from your copy on your pricing page any word that suggests your user's bank account is about to empty instead of fill. Now, this is the work of it, right? There will be some words that you're like, but I can't change that word. Try. Just sit down and just try new things. Try the word contribute instead of pay. Other things that people aren't used to seeing that don't make them think my life is about to get harder. So pay, money, dollars, dollar signs, currency symbols, buy, cost, price, fee, spend. These are all appearing all over your pricing page. Maybe money is not, but watch out for that just in case. So we can look at something like this. DigitalOcean, great product. We use this product as well. Simple, predictable pricing. This is the whole hero section. Always know what you'll pay with monthly caps and flat pricing. We have not a lot of words here. And this is it. This is taking up the entire hero space, all the way to the bottom of the screen. 21% of the words in this hero tell me that I better start protecting my budget because DigitalOcean wants to take my money. Pricing, pay, pricing again. So there are 14 words here. 3 of them are talking about how this is going to cost me money. Now, you might think, well, hi, it's the pricing page, but I would challenge you because you actually don't have to use the word pricing in your H1. You don't use products in your H1 on the products page. You don't say, welcome to my homepage either. We're so busy talking about this thing, this money that people are going to have to spend, and we're forgetting that all people want to do is keep more of it. Get more of it. They're coming to you because they want their lives to get better, not to lose all this money, right? So we have something like Podia pricing. This is on the Podia pricing page. Pay monthly, you can see there. Then we've got dollar signs, and then down below we have buy now. These are things we can swap out pretty easily. We can make very simple changes right now in your CMS. So you can instead say, start free, Podia grows with you. You can make your offer the H1 on your pricing page. You can make a separate value proposition of whatever. We can't get into all the different ways that you can do it, but I know we can do better than Podia pricing. Replace pay with plan. Plan isn't a scary word. Pay is a pretty scary word. And replace buy with get it. This is true largely for companies that have specific budgets. If you are selling into enterprise, you might not even have this page. So this point is moot for you. But for everybody else who's selling to smaller businesses, to just all sizes of businesses that are below enterprise, budget's a consideration. And I don't want to just spend my day talking about pricing with you. Yes, they'll be paying you money. No, you don't need to talk about it. You don't need to make your word choice about that thing. Okay. Add the following words to the 5 that you have already memorized: evergreen, necessary, and productivity. Okay, great. Now you've got 8 words in your head. We're moving on to bad word number 3. How are those 8 words doing for you? How's it sticking in your head? Bad word number 3 is the word and. We've got the first 2 words out of the way. Bad word number 3 is the word and. How many of those 8 words do you remember? If it's all 8, congratulations. But also, you were told to memorize those. When your prospect lands on your site, when they're looking through, when your users are going through your site, your prospective users, your users who are coming back to your site, maybe to learn something, to go to the resource center, whatever it might be, every time you use the word and, you risk losing them. Their job is not to sit there and memorize and hold in their head all of the many messages you want to throw at them. So when you keep throwing words at them, the effect is that they don't remember really any of them. It's not their job. Every time you use the word and, you lose a conversion. Just make that your new rule. It's a new rule. Just don't even question it. Joe said so. Every time you use the word and, you lose a conversion. Why? Because you are muddying up your message. The whole purpose of copy is to express to your prospect in a way that they can understand and take action. And so when you just keep throwing things at them, it's very, very hard for them to take away any sort of message that they can take action. So, for example, what word do you remember here? Maximize team productivity, decision making, and efficiency with the world's fastest shared inbox. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot there versus maximize team productivity with the world's fastest shared inbox. By the way, in this case, the one on the right is Intercom's copy. I added extra words on the left. Intercom is amazing at not using the word and across their website. Smart, simple online safety powered by AI. So there's not an and here, there's just a comma. Someone couldn't choose between smart or simple. Someone thought, oh, people need both smart and simple. But if we're going to go down that path, people need lots of different things. We could just keep adding and adding and adding adjectives. So we need the discipline to say, we're just going to go with smart. Smart online safety powered by AI. I like smart. Smart's good. I like it. And I remember it. It's the one word. There's not a lot of words. It's just that one word. So you and I know, because you've read studies over time, or you know that the reason a phone number is 7 digits long is because that's the maximum that we can hold in our head. We can fully hold one idea in our heads at a time. Our brains are simple, wonderful little simple things. They don't like complex messages as much as they like simple messages that they can then retain. To which people often say, but Joe, our product really does all those things. So how do we choose? To which I say, Intercom is able to choose. Why can't we, right? When we look at something like this, ask yourself when you read over your copy and you see giant lists of things that 5 different department leads wanted to put in the copy, really ask yourself, what are they doing? Do they need to be there, or are they just making us happy instead of helping our prospect really understand what's going on? Like in this case, Wistia, again, love Wistia. They say in their H1, the video marketing platform for business, and then go on to basically describe video marketing below it instead of building on it, just kind of unpacking it. To me, it feels like we can do better than that, because I'm not walking away from this hero going, oh, I get it. I can go rattle off to my team why we're switching to Wistia, because they create and manage videos, host web, it's all the things, right? And I know your product does all the things, and that is the trick of it. But what we need to talk about here in this bad words talk is the challenge that comes for your prospect in seeing the word and again and again and again and again, and the lists and the commas and all the things that I'm supposed to hold in my head that I just can't. When you use lists, it is easy to lose sight of the purpose of the message, of the product itself, and even of the company when you let yourself basically get away with and. Intercom, as I mentioned, check out their site for a great example. Just this is their homepage, a really great example of a website that doesn't use the word and, that focuses people on the one outcome of a product, or of a feature. So if you have a feature, what's the one outcome or the one benefit of it? Just keep it to one. One is good. Have the discipline to choose one thing for your overworked prospect to be allowed to focus on. Just one. I'm feeling good about time. I know we've only got 4 minutes left, but we only got 2 more bad words to get into. I had a bonus bad word. I don't think we're going to get into it. We're just going to hit the final 2 bad words. Hopefully I have people here. It looks like we're all good. All right. No chats that need me. Ooh, Anthony, good question. All right, we'll get over there soon. Bad word number 4 is learn. Okay. This is in your resource center, very likely. Learn from the experts in this case. Now, great. There's all this great stuff and you can learn. Cool. Who else is excited about learning? Oh, great. I get to learn. Fun. Like the challenge is, and I've had many arguments with people who are teachers online teachers about, I'm an online teacher, about how people want to or do not want to learn. I would say learn is not the outcome people are looking for. Very few people want to, quote unquote, learn anything to do with your SaaS. They want the outcome of learning. And we need to apply the same discipline to the word choice for our resource centers and training areas as we do to other spaces, because this is where you send people when they need to, quote unquote, learn how to use your tool, how to become better users of your solution. What is the outcome of learning? How do we find out what the outcome is of learning? Well, we can talk through your jobs to be done. Now, I'm not going to get into these due to time, but this is something, if you do go back through the slide deck afterward, which I recommend that you do, you can see what some of those functional jobs to be done are of learning, like completing important tasks for their job or department. That's a functional outcome of learning. A social job to be done is maybe becoming power users and getting promoted at work. A personal job to be done is to start seeing their work lives improve. So there's different things that are the actual outcome that your prospect is looking for. Not learn, not learn. So why do people want to learn? Well, a great place to go. I went over to people who teach. I went to yale.edu, and I went to their undergraduate page. When I went through their undergraduate page, again, a graduate student, professional, they might be looking more for quote unquote learn. They are academics. They consider themselves academics. A lot of people otherwise who are looking up going to Yale might not be thinking, I want to be a really great academic. They might be thinking other things. Now, they might be, but they still want something else, which Yale has learning is the one time that that word appears on the undergraduate study, at least in their hero section. Otherwise, they say explore, exercise curiosity, discover new interests, graduate with values, pursue meaningful work, lead purposeful and successful lives. These are the outcomes of learning. These are the journey of learning, is to exercise curiosity and discover new abilities. So if Yale, which is actually selling learning, if any of us are selling learning and other things, but definitely learning as part of it, Yale is someone to look to, and they don't even use learning. Masterclass doesn't say learn, right? Their whole job is to teach you. They know very likely that learn is not the word that's going to get you to sign up. So what is the outcome of learning how to use your solution? Now, we talk about 5-foot outcomes, 5-inch outcomes, and 5-mile outcomes. So think about like what an outcome is that someone can get after a short time of using your solution. So instead of learn from the experts, you can say start confidently building your business in the next 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to learn that. It's going to cover everything that I'm talking about here. It might be start confidently building your product, but it does more than that. So we want to incorporate everything in there. Now, 5-mile outcome, the distant outcome, is be successful. It might not be the most powerful phrase, but at least it's an outcome that I'm looking for instead of learn. 0 minutes left, but we're going to do it because we got a couple minutes, right? And then I'll take questions. If you have questions, start lining those up. I see that there are 6 already. Start throwing those in the question area. Bad word number 5. This is the product one. Bad word number 5 is the right word for the wrong action. Now, this is not a word. This is a choice that you make. You choose to use a good word for something you don't want people to do. That's not great. So some phrasing is going to make your message harder to read or process. We're typically trying to avoid phrases like this. Like we're trying to avoid using the passive voice. This is the active voice on the left. This is somewhat the passive voice, but strangely, when I try to write in the passive voice, it's so hard. It's so hard to get rid of a subject. But it's kind of the passive voice. We know that the passive voice is not a great thing to use. Be active. Getting really fancy with your syntax. This is clear, easy, simple syntax. This is a little bit too wonky. It's going to be hard for people to really understand what you're trying to say versus the one on the left. And even changing a statement to its negative form is like a bad thing, right? We know better than to do that. So we have something that's clear and easy to read, but when we turn it into its negative form, like email automation that doesn't fail to meet the challenges of B2B SaaS, that's confusing. Like, why would you do that? And in your hero, in your marketing copy, you're unlikely to try to complicate matters just enough to confuse people. However, there are times that we want to do this. Sometimes your message should be a little harder to read or process. This might seem crazy. You might not like it. UX people typically don't like me saying this, but consider the actions you don't want people to take. in your product. And there's a lot of them: cancel account, downgrade account, delete critical data, like move subscribers out of your email platform, things like that. Stop using sticky features, removing integration, stuff that we're like, how do we get them to stop doing those things without being that terrible company that's like, call us to cancel your account. It was easy to sign up. It's impossible to cancel. I've had to call a pager service in 2021 or something to get something canceled. It was insane. Now, we don't have to hide those actions. What I would say is you can just make those words a little weird. Just try making their words a little weird. So instead of cancel account, try don't remain. You can still find it. You're just like, what are you talking about? Don't remain. I don't know what it means. Now, you might not want to do that, but I want you to consider how this can work. I hope this isn't too political for anybody in the room. I'm not trying to be, but if someone came to me and said, how do we de-optimize staying part of the European Union? I would say, let's really complicate the way that we say it. So leave the European Union, very easy to understand. Remain a member of the European Union, a little harder to understand. I don't know which one to do. Something's been de-optimized. You want people to be too lightly confused to bother arguing with you. This is contentious, but I think just roll with it. Just try it. Just look at the things that you're already doing that you could maybe complicate when you don't want people to do this. This is the same thing as graying out a button that you don't want people to click. So it's the exact same kind of thing. Please leave petrified wood in the park. I don't know if you're familiar with this. Cialdini did this test years ago. Which of these two is easier to understand? You're in a national park. They don't want you to take petrified wood out of the park. There's too many people coming through the park. We need the wood to stay. So they tried, please leave petrified wood in the park, or please don't remove petrified wood from the park. The one on the left is easier to understand. I get it right away. I can argue with you. I understand what you're saying. The one on the right, I have to pause for a second, kind of think a little bit. Now, which of these do you think resulted in more wood being left in the park? It won't surprise you to learn it was the one based on what I'm telling you, it was the one on the right. Please don't remove petrified wood from the park resulted in more people leaving wood in the park, largely because they're just like, I'm a little confused. I'm just going to drop this wood. I don't know what's going on. The one on the left, easier to process. I can consider it. I can disagree with it very easily. The one on the right is harder to process. So unless I'm really feeling it, I might not even bother trying to argue with it. Basically, de-optimize options by de-optimizing their words. You do not want to strive for clarity when you want to de-optimize an option. So, I'm wrapping this up right now. Which option do you think Asana, in this case, wants you to choose? Again, you were familiar with pricing pages. Looks to me like premium is the one they want me to choose. There's this basic thing over to the side, business over to the other side. Premium's getting a lot of the contrasting color and contrasting buttons. Oh, it's in the middle. Of course, I'm going to choose that one. That's what they want. However, which option is easiest to understand fast? Basic, premium, or business? Now, to me, I would argue basic, I understand. Premium and business, I mostly understand, but I think I'm a business across the board anyway, aren't I? So the one that I would optimize or de-optimize that's already kind of optimized here is basic. It's the easiest one to understand. It's also in pretty good real estate. Now, we change things up a bit. Elemental. What the hell does elemental mean? Strangely, now Disney has this new movie called Elemental, and I'm like, I'm going to have to change that one in my presentation. Elemental is now confusing. It's a little I don't know what it is. So I might consider plus versus business instead. So those are small things that we can do, small things you can test right away to see if it lands for your prospect. The idea here, people don't love hearing it, but when you don't want someone to do something, don't be clear about it. These are the bad words. We are ready for questions, I think, right now. There's other bonus stuff that I'm not going to be able to get into, but we'll do it another time. It'll be fine. Good. So are we ready to take some questions, Pat?
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you so much. What a great presentation. What an amazing pace and tempo, keeping us entertained throughout, entertaining, as if you've done this before.
I have once or twice, but not this talk. This is a fun time to do this talk. I've never done it. But
well, before we do audience questions, I would love to clear something out. Like people in the chat know, well, masterclass is now saying learn on their homepage, and they are. I checked myself. So
yeah,
you're not saying that these words always work worse. They mostly work worse, right?
I'm saying maybe masterclass is testing it, or maybe they just went with it. Maybe they just fell into it. Who knows the reasoning? We can't imagine without actually talking to them. And other people use learn and then stop using learn too. So I would say just try it, see what happens for you. I wouldn't, as a copywriter who's done this for a bajillion years, I wouldn't default to use the word learn at all.
Exactly. When you look at somebody's website, you don't know how they came to it and if it's working, right?
Totally.
They might be testing. It might be they had an internal a meeting, and the consensus was that this is the least offensive, whatever.
Exactly. Someone liked the sound of it, and that they were the highest paid person in the room. Or maybe it was something else, just like you were saying, Pat. It could be any number of things. But we've all been in those calls where we're like, okay, that's what we're using, I guess.
And I spent a good chunk of my career in, conversion optimization testing, and not often, it was not too rare to see an obviously dumb version just for some reason work. So it happens. All right. Questions. Corey is asking. Okay, you don't like the word and. What about ampersand?
It's the same thing. So any variation, thing, right? And, but, yet, or not yet, and, but, or, just a list. Just choose one.
Yeah. It's about the number of ideas you're communicating, not the and.
Yeah.
Melanie is saying, I always remember you saying that solution is a bad word. Why wasn't it on your list?
Melanie, hello. I know we've chatted over the years. I don't remember solution being a bad word. Sorry. I just don't remember that.
Maybe it cleaned up.
Tool is a bad word. Tool is a bad word.
You're such a tool. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to call like this software a tool. So solution works there instead. But no, I don't remember. Sorry, Melanie.
Oh, okay. Sam is saying, I've gotten pushback that using you language too much makes it hard to effectively and concisely talk about what we can offer. Any thoughts?
I would say you have to push back in return. Sadly. Okay, so the reality is that if it makes it too hard to effectively and concisely talk about what we can offer, again, even that phrasing alone is problematic, right? It's not about what we can offer. That's not what it's about. Your prospect isn't there saying, I wonder what they can offer. It's what can I get, right? So focus instead on what they can get. I would say if you're unsure, like I was wowed by Intercom's site. I hadn't been there in so long. It's very you focused. And like, I would say, go take a look at some of these high performing SaaS companies that are really working hard on following the rules. Anybody who pushes back on using you language, I would just want to kind of sit down and talk with them about the reality of why people come to your website and what they're looking for at all. Yeah. It's a big conversation. Yeah.
Anthony is saying, from Boxcar's homepage, our singular focus is blah, 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 blah. Can we talk about why it's okay to that they used our or you?
So, yes, totally. Service-based businesses often have a we line. This is what we do. Our thing is, because you're considering hiring the talent behind the scenes. SaaS. This is a presentation for bad words for SaaS. If I were doing a presentation for bad words for service-based businesses, I wouldn't include that because freelancers typically need. Now, that doesn't mean it does feel a little bit lazy still to do it, but I have found when I work with freelancers, when I work with agencies on their sites, there is a moment at which you need to say, we do this. However, I don't think there's a moment when you need to say that on a SaaS site, possibly at the very bottom of an about page. That's about it.
Ava is asking, adding the word you makes copy longer. What about, trying to make it shorter, simpler?
So that's ranking copy length over your customer. I don't know what the argument is to do that. If it's about people, they'll read about it. If it's about me, if I see myself in it, I'm engaged right away. I'm like, this, you're in my head and I can read and read. Doesn't mean you're just going to like rattle off whatever you feel like. But I wouldn't prioritize copy length over actually engaging that prospect you want to convert into a paying customer.
Sohaib is asking, in that Thinkific example of our creators are changing the game, does that sort of include a level of social proof, like our creators?
Sure. That's one argument for it. I would say, though, that social proof has a place. Proof has to prove something, for sure. I would not, if I were in the boardroom having this discussion with Thinkific and someone said, well, it's social proof, I would just argue that it's more important to make sure that this is the hero. This is the hero of a page. If they're going to come there, and I think it was the hero at least, it's a prominent message. If someone's landing on that page, social proof is great, but unless this is a proof, like, is it, I don't know. I wouldn't, no. I mean, I'm just being a bit of a like stickler, but 20 years into it, I can say again and again and again, if you lead with we or our, you are losing your prospect. You just are. So it's not going to, there's other ways to do social proof. You can still make your customer the hero. And that's our job. Yeah.
What about this? This is my question. What about the trend? A lot of SaaS companies, including Intercom, I just looked, has that headline. They can't decide, so they show 3 in a row, blinking, you know.
Is it the one where they keep swapping it out, where they replace things? Yeah. To me, it feels like the lazy option. Now, I'm not saying that the people behind it are actually lazy, but we fall into things where we go, oh, that's an easy solve. This way, we don't have to actually make a call. We don't have to decide anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a way to reach internal consensus often. Yeah. You know, like we can't get to an agreement level, so let's say it all. Yes, politics.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mark is saying, is AI going to be a bad word in the future?
Is crypto a bad word today? No, I'm just kidding. That's funny. If this is a question about AI, I'm a fan of where it can go for your copy. Yeah. But for me, AI is a good word. Who knows what the future holds? Ask AI.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not about AI. It's like, how overused is it? So if everybody uses a certain word, you can get, nauseated.
Yeah. Because everybody, like I was in our CMS, we use Elementor on WordPress, and they had an AI thing. I was in Active Campaign, and they had like, we'll write your email. And I was like, what are you doing? Maybe. It's at least exciting for now. Give the people a bit of
totally
chill time.
Tanya is asking, well, besides Intercom, what other B2B SaaS websites do you think are doing a good job?
So for me, I mean, I'm kind of old school. So no matter what, I tend to go back to Basecamp. I can't help myself. Basecamp led the way out of the gate for SaaS companies writing really great websites. They're always trying something. So even if I'm just going to go there right now so I can see it, yeah, it's totally different from what it was. And they've got like crazy long copy. They've got like, go check out Basecamp. At least you'll come away with ideas for something to do, because a lot of these sites end up looking exactly the same. So that's what I would do. Yeah.
Agnieszka is saying, hey, Joe, what would be preferred way to craft a statement about the enterprise pricing? Basically saying, get in touch with our sales, but to remove resistance.
That's a whole conversation around, I mean, yeah, it's really tough to say. I don't have anything off the top of my head because I wasn't looking at enterprises to prepare for this, at enterprise targeted, at SaaS companies that are targeting enterprise. InVision has done a good job on their enterprise sales page. So if you go to InVision, I think it's just InVision.com now. I think it used to be InVision app, InVisionapp.com. Their enterprise page has always been pretty good. I'd use that as like to generate some ideas. Oh shit. Oh shoot. I mean, sorry, they don't have enterprise up in the hero anymore. Interesting. So it's hard to say. It's hard to, make something up on the fly because I don't know. And it would depend on in the right context, get in touch with our sales team. could be great if I'm ready to get in touch with your sales team. And if I am an enterprise organization, I'm probably used to, let's hop on a call then and like show me your product. So
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing to say get in touch with our
Yeah,
sales team.
there's the whole idea that where do most people spend their time online? It's on other websites, not yours. So we have used a certain conventions, and we're looking for them. Like if I want a demo, I'm looking for the word demo.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you say, "Hey, let's discuss solutions over a Zoom call," I'm like, "Is that a demo?"
Yeah. Am I going to see the product? What's happening in this call?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
totally. Yeah.
Jessica is saying, should the entire H1 and subhead have the U language,
Yeah.
or is it a bad approach to have the H1 with the U message and give a secondary message specific to your brand?
I don't know why it would be bad. I think the reason maybe to argue that it's not the thing to do is because so few people do it. So I'm on Envision app right now on their homepage, and the headline is the all-in-one collaborative online whiteboard. The word "you" doesn't appear, and then the subhead is Envision's freehand, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is, I mean, again, we're falling into these things. I would say default to leading with "you" because we know. Try it. You can like install the little Chrome extension to edit a website live. Just try it. Just try typing in "you can whatever," and then finish that off. But I would not default. I'm not saying do everything I say because I say to do it. However,
Mhm.
you're going to be in safer territory when you're using the word "you" because you know that it is about the prospect at that point. That is the surefire way to be yes,
Mhm.
it is about my prospect because it leads with the word "you." It still might not be something they care about. You might still be wrong with the outcome or benefit that they're looking for. You think it's one thing, it's actually not. So putting the word "you" there isn't going to fix a bad message overall. But if it's
Mhm.
a good message, rewrite it to lead with "you," regardless of what the competition or non-competition, other SaaS companies are doing. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, what about the good old objection where we need certain SEO words in the headline and stuff?
Does SEO even work anymore? Like, is SEO still a thing? I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, sure it
Kind
is.
of. You've got lots of ways to drive traffic to your site. The question for me is what happens when they get there. I'm not saying ignore SEO keyword phrases. I'm not saying de-optimize for search. But every talk I give, someone does an SEO question in the audience, and it comes down to, I think there are lots of ways to drive traffic to a site, but once you get a user there, you earned them, you won them, they're there. Make them get it, make them like buy into your solution. I'd worry more about that than I would about whether Google's really happy today, because Google changes tomorrow anyway. So like, not cool, Google. That's my take on SEO.
Um,
Sorry to all the SEOs.
Question about the about page. Can we say "we" on our about page?
That's the one place where it seems to make sense to say "we." I would say when you read it over, or when you ask users to read it over, or prospects to analyze or audit it, respond or give feedback on it, which I think there are tools now that let you do that. Just kidding. Um, when that happens, then just see what their notes are. Are people engaging with it? If you're going to talk about "we," I would say you better be one hell of a story. If you're going to put an about page together, if I'm going to write an about page about myself, it better not be Joanna Wiebe hails from Kelowna, British Columbia, and blah, blah, blah. Like, nobody cares. It better be like some badass story about kissing Bono or something, which I haven't done, but my sister did. Side note. She kissed Bono.
There are a couple of questions here still about "you." So, should you start with "you"? You can get, or should
Mm.
you end with "you"? And
Oh,
also, when you have a call to action type of stuff, should you say "you can get" or just "get"?
yeah, that's a great calls to action are a whole other thing. So much opportunity with them. I would say try "you can get" in there. Try it. I don't think it would work because a call to action is typically where I am now in the first person doing the thing. So I'm about to click a thing. So I recommend that you complete the phrase "I want to" write that call to action. So I want to whatever, Also, putting the call to action in the first person is a good thing too. So for Crazy Egg years ago, Crazy Egg, I did a bunch of tests with them, and one of them was around the button, which was show me my heat map. It was unbeatable, this freaking button. There's no way to beat it. Show me my heat map. First person button. I think it's a great example of what you should try to do, because not a lot of people put their button in the first person at all. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lengthier question here. Joanna, what is your usual copywriting process? Can
Oh
you
gosh.
have a 30-second overview?
Yeah. So it's a 3-part process that we teach. We actually have conversion copywriting for beginners. It's a $25 course if you're interested. It's on our website. It's a really quick way into it. It starts with research and discovery that leads to analysis. So go and listen to find your message, because I don't know. Like when someone says, "What should I write for this?" I'm like, I don't have a clue. Go listen. Go listen to what your prospects are saying, what they want, all of those things. And you'll learn a lot, right? So you do have to synthesize it down to like key messages, where to put them, etc. That's phase 1. Then comes writing. Writing and editing, and the part that makes it all like come to life on the page. So you take voice of customer, and it's not as simple as saying like, well, customers said this, so it must be good copy. That's not true, but sometimes yes. And then you plant it inside of frameworks and formulas. That's in the writing and editing process. And then you generate, wireframing typically happens here too if you're working on a website. And then you go forward with validation and ideally experimentation. So you have research and discovery that leads to a synthesis moment, then writing and editing with some wireframing sometimes, then validation and experimentation. And it should be a cycle. Then you go back through it again and again and again, because you're never done, ever. That's all.
Nobody wants to hear that. I want to be done.
Hey, it keeps me employed. No, I'm just kidding.
Me too, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, Nicola is still like, well, but how do we explain what our company does without using we?
Just try rewriting it with you. And it's often as simple as you get. So, okay, let's look at this. Everybody's got they're all online. So envisionapp.com. Right now I'm looking at it. Envision's freehand has everything your team needs to bring together people, tools, and work. All you have to say is, you can get, as a starting point, everything your team needs to bring together people, tools, and work with Envision's freehand. That's it. I now know it's about me, and it's the exact same message. Just make me the subject. That's it.
Cool. Yeah. Joanna, also please drop the training link into the chat if you can.
Sure.
People want to give you money. Also, Vasilis is asking, so how do you argue with the CMO who wants a rotating headline on the homepage? What's the...
I mean, I argue. That's my thing. I don't think that there's a problem. I think most CMOs want to have people on their team who are challenging the status quo and have informed opinions about things. So if I wouldn't argue in a meeting, but I'd step aside and say like, okay, I learned this thing and I really want to try it. And here's what it is. And here's how I think it could work. What do you think? And get them to buy in. And in most cases, I mean, there's always going to be some unreasonable person out there. But in most cases, if you can say, I'm excited about something and I think it could work, I think, we could learn from this, then they'll be like, cool, run with it. Maybe we can't do it this month, but maybe the next month we can do it. Or maybe you can do it immediately or test it in your next email and see how that goes. Something like that. But CMOs they want to believe that they've hired a good person for the job. So put your hand up and be that good person for the job. Yeah.
Yeah, I would also add here that like if you try to say too many things, like what are the chances that they retain any of those? It's like you want to communicate an idea, right? Pique curiosity. So it's less effective if you just, There's a related question here. What do you think about phrasing headlines as a question?
Ooh, I think it can be good if their answer is a controlled answer for you, by which I mean, if you're going to say, ready to start managing projects easily for your headline, the answer could be no. And you don't want to know. So you have to phrase the question in such a way that people are going to answer it that gets them nodding along with you, right? So this is just basic sales stuff. Never ask a question where if they go no, and you want them to say yes, now we have a problem. But in lots of ways, a question can be a really engaging thing. I would just say anticipate the answer. And if it can go the wrong way, rewrite it until it gets to a place where it goes the right way.
There can be also like the answer can be too obviously yes. It's like, do you want to make more money? Like,
yes.
You know, like yes, but like no.
I don't think you can help me with
Not
that.
with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. We have a time maybe for one or two more questions.
Okay.
George said, in one of your slides, you listed the bullet point, use just below prices. What is your experience and observation with just below pricing?
I've actually had a lot of conversations with my friends about this, like when they're listing their houses to sell their house and they go with a round number, and then we have long conversations about not doing that. As I mentioned, I did my master's in converting people in e-commerce and SaaS environments with product detail pages and pricing pages. So that meant a massive amount of research on these sorts of things, on all the things that exactly what you're asking here, George, just below prices. So I can say that there is a lot of great, I would say, data to support rounding down, like doing the number just below the $9.97 instead of the $10. I think you could go for the surprise. The only way it would really win, I would imagine, is, surprisingly, it's a round number, like $25 instead of $24.97. And SaaS companies do this all the time, right? Like they do round numbers for their pricing tables, like $25 instead of $24.97. So there's that to consider. But I would say studies show you should do just below pricing. That doesn't mean you have to. That's just a point for you. Yeah, my experience is use just below. Oh, sorry. I talk a lot.
Very last question. Let's do the very last question. All right. Julian is asking, for hero copy, do you prefer leading with loss aversion, like you're losing too many deals, or a value statement, win your customers back?
It's a fun thing to try out. If you can test it, if all the things come together and you can run a good test with it, then do so. What we've seen is, so traditionally, I have found leading with problems or like negative feelings actually works pretty well. So leading with loss aversion has traditionally worked pretty well. However, what we've seen, and I assume this is a post-COVID thing, everybody's fatigued, everyone's exhausted, there's all this drama all around us all the time. So we're seeing aspirational and hopeful messages work better today than, so where I used to do problem, agitation, solution, now I'm doing desire, obstacle, solution. What's the thing that I want? Make me feel something that doesn't feel horrible. So I would say, I would hypothesize that loss aversion would lose in this case, but who knows?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Joanna, it's been a pleasure having you. So amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thanks,
everyone. What social media are you still active on these days?
Twitter, still at Copyhackers. Yep.
Right.
Or LinkedIn.
Give her a follow, and Joanna, I'll see you around on the internet.
Sounds good. Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks, Pep. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. And if you want to know what your customers think of your messaging, run a message test. Don't guess. Don't wonder. Is it like this? Is it working? Don't wonder if it's working. You can just find out in the next 12 hours. Launch a message test in the next 3 minutes. And tomorrow you'll have the answers. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace out. See you next time. Enjoy.